Cool. Yo, what is going on, team? This is Art, and today is Sunday Stock Talk for 3/21/2020. So today I'm just going to be covering a few of the stocks that we'll be trading going into this week, and overall just how we feel about the market going into the week after the quad watching. So overall, let's get this thing on the road. I'm going to be sending out my link to everyone for people to peep it out, and we'll get it going from there. That said, I will be taking tickers tonight and general questions. This is going to be a fairly short stock talk, mainly because there's not a lot of kind of opportunities that I see, as of right now at least. But obviously, we are still going to check around and look for things because that's what we're here to do. We are traders. We're here to take trades. So let's get this show on the road. I am now live for Stock Talk on YT. Tune in if you like. Smiley face. Boom. All right, let's get it. Cool. All right. And stream health is all right. Hey, how goes? Pretty darn good. I'm straight cooling right now, to be honest. All right. So firstly, let me open up our futures. So let me pull up /ES/NQ/VX. Whoops. Pull up, just our general market health indicator, just futures in general. So we have NQ, which is NASDAQ. We have ES, which is SPY, and /VX, which is the VIX. So this is our volatility index, but the futures version of it. And so overall, here's what I'm seeing when it comes to the market. And here's what kind of is leading me to believe we might see a little more blood going into this week. So notice we have on this hourly chart kind of this little bear flag like setup right here. So when I first opened up the charts, that was the first thing just staring me in the face. Massive bear flag. I'm not saying that's what's... No, wait, not seeing my screen. Oh, shoot. My bad, y'all. Thank you so much for pointing that out, Zach. I really appreciate it. All right, take two. So /NQ/ES/VX. First thing I noticed was on an hourly chart, we have a massive bear flag just staring us in the face here. And I noticed that the market overall is kind of weak because of the whole bond yield. And so when we look at NQ, this is tech, this is Qqq, we are looking at a pretty big bear flag. And what I think is what we'll end up seeing is maybe retesting this 12,950 or maybe even this 13,000. But we need to make sure we can clear this 50 SMA and 200 SMA going into tomorrow, Monday. If we can't, we'll just get pushed right back down. And if we double bottom, or if we break the double bottom here at 12,750, we'll end up seeing the market kind of slide for a little while. And I'm not saying we'll probably end up retesting the lows that we saw a week and a half ago, but we did have a very clean reject of 50 SMA in terms of a 4-hour chart. And so when you see 200 SMA right here, it's a hard reject, and we're starting to form, again, that bear flag. So if we can't end up getting back above that 13,000 mark, we are going to head a lot lower. And I would say even retesting that low that we recently had. So overall, I would say that I feel very bearish on NASDAQ. So that's tech. And overall, I would expect it to kind of be a little more on the weaker side. And then you go and look at ES. I also notice NQ is green for the session, but ES is a little flat. So when I look at ES, the main thing that I've noticed was that it's been very strong recently. And I think that as we see people kind of taking their money out of NQ, we're going to see them move into ES. And this is because this is more of the defensive side. You're taking finance stocks, you're taking stuff like Boeing as well, or Costco, Target, McDonald's, things that are a lot more safer and more value oriented. And so when you actually look at the charting for ES, Notice how we have a crossover that's starting to happen here. So when we have the crossover to the upside and we have a relatively neutral RSI, notice that we are still in the bearish side of RSI, but we are trying to recover out of it. If we can see ES get back above 3900 and retake 3906, we can maybe have that retest of the 200 SMA at 3926. So overall, what I would expect is some sort of recovery here. Again, same thing applies for QQQ. I want to see QQQ at least test 12,950. That would be extremely important, mainly because that shows that confirmation of our downtrend here. In terms of ES, I would expect them to hold a lot better in terms of strength. And then we actually go see a VX. This is the VIX. So this is just your volatility index. Notice that we are still holding higher than we've been for these past couple of sessions. So let me just pull up a longer time frame. So we did have a few moments where the VIX did end up falling, and let me just pull up the longer time frame for SPY just so it's a little easier to see. So very recently we've noticed that VIX has been kind of hovering this 26 area, and as long as I see it climbing, I could potentially see this as a bull flag for it. But again, it's not something that you can use technical analysis on. But if we do end up breaking this 200-day moving average for the VIX, I would be very cautious of playing it. And also notice right here for ES, we are totally flat on top of 200 SMA. Notice we have this huge candle to the downside off this bear flag. We dip down, we touch the 200 SMA for 3 candles straight, but we never fall below, which is why I think that if we cannot hold on to this, little mark of this 3,900, we're going to end up seeing the market kind of bleed a little bit. And that, of course, is because of the current bond yield rate just continuing to increase over time. And that is currently what's the main threat towards upside in our market. Let me just pull up some names that I want to take. So obviously I'll just pull up QQQ. That's just the main thing. If you're not playing QQQ, I don't know what to tell you. Tesla has been massively beat up recently, but it does have this massive H pattern that's forming. And then I'm also going to look at Amazon because I think that Amazon has been extremely weak recently. So that is also something I want to consider. And overall, the tech sector is something I'm keeping a very close eye on. And I also want to keep an eye on finance because I think that finance can see a pretty strong bounce. The main reason why they sold off so heavily on Friday was because of COVID restrictions. They were taken, or they lost a few of their privileges that they got for funding. So overall, I think that we might be able to see a little bit of a finance recovery, and we'll see how tech goes. But that said, let me pull up this Qqq chart and notice again we have that rounding top. If anything, this looks like a little head and shoulder. So you got shoulder, head, and we're forming our other shoulder. So I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing market slide a little bit going into this week. Tesla is just a massive H pattern. So we got right here, we got our little leg. Here's our H, and I wouldn't be surprised if we retested back to this like 550 mark. Hey, what is up, David? I haven't seen you in a minute. Amazon is pretty curious, mainly because it does have that same H pattern. And on my custom indicator set, we recently pinged a reversal to this upside. By the way, David is the guy who coded this. He's my guy. But overall, Amazon has been just extremely weak to the market. And in comparison to, say, Apple or Microsoft, they've been getting massively beat up. And I don't see that changing for another while for them to be more strong, because they've been kind of just hovering around this 200 SMA. And as long as they keep falling below it, I'm just going to keep playing puts on it. That said, I am overall pretty bearish on Amazon. I think Amazon, again, is the weakest of the bunch here. I noticed that Facebook is massively into this overbought mark, but it is extremely strong. And I think that Facebook is performing very well because of just the general, how do I even put this into words? The general setup that it has this very steep price channel that it's been following. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Facebook kind of pull back a little bit going into Monday and continue ripping higher. That is based off of a 4 hourly chart. So there's that little channel I'm talking about. And overall, I think that Facebook out of the bunch is one of the strongest that we can play here. And even notice right here at the end of Friday's session, we ended on a bull flag. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised if we saw this thing continue higher up to 300. I really like Facebook. Facebook setup is extremely strong. So let me also pull up the rest of these charts. So we also have gold. I wanted to keep an eye on gold as well because they have been making this slow recovery here. So when it comes to gold, it's a little bit of an interesting play here because we are slowly approaching this 200 SMA in terms of the 4 hour chart. So notice we have a relatively neutral RSI and we're riding on top of the 50 SMA. So if we end up falling below 50 SMA, I'll ride gold down for an H pattern back down to 157. But if we end up holding on to 50 SMA, I'll continue to take this thing up for a slow grind up until we get to the 200-day moving average, and from there, we can keep seeing gold rise a little bit. Lastly, I wanted to look at Apple, Visa, and Costco. These are some plays that Visa and Costco are plays that I'm heavily looking at here. Mainly because these are more of the recovery plays, and also because I think Costco has a very strong setup to the upside. So firstly, I just want to point out, here's Apple. We fell back below 200 SMA, and I think that if we're going to sit below 200 SMA for Apple, it is going to end up just ripping back downwards. However, we do have almost like an inverse head and shoulders that's forming, which is kind of interesting when you look at it in terms of a 4 hourly chart. But we're getting pushed down by every single SMA line as of right now. And if tech can't recover here because of the bond rates, I wouldn't be very... I wouldn't want to be taking a position in tech to the upside until we can see bonds maybe fall back down a little bit. But as of right now, I think they're just going to continue getting pushed. So we'll see about that. Visa has been massively destroyed recently, mainly because of, again, that news that we saw with financial stocks. And on top of that, there is a probe being held on Visa because they are being looked at for potentially not competitive practices. Because I guess everyone has a Visa card. No, but this is mainly because they are the main provider of transactions, and the U.S. government isn't a huge fan of that. I mean, I guess it's kind of understandable, but I think we'll maybe see Visa have a small recovery, or what we'll end up seeing is this 4 hour chart will end up retesting down here at this 200 mark right before we had this huge pump, and we end up turning this into a head and shoulders. That's my main thinking when it comes to looking at Visa. Lastly, I have Costco. Costco has a pretty big bull flag setup in terms of the 4 hour chart. Notice that we canceled this H pattern with this 50 SMA bounce. We've been holding into the 320s very strongly. And notice we have a crossover that's about to happen to the upside. So overall, I think Costco, if we can break back above 30.30 or 330, we can see Costco maybe run to 350, not in one day, but maybe over the span of 2 days. And overall, my profit target for Costco for maybe, say a couple of weeks is 345. I very much like Costco. I found out that they pay very nicely in terms of options premiums. And so with that in mind, I think that it is a pretty strong play. And I'm personally in it. I have an open win of about $3,000 on 325 and 330 calls for the 16th of February. I'm not a financial advisor, though. That's just my personal stuff. I am opening up the session here for your own tickers, so feel free. Am I running a spread on this, or is this naked? This is a naked position here for Costco. That said, guys, I am opening up the chat for tickers and for questions, so feel free to shoot me any tickers that you are looking at, and what time frame you'd like me to look at, or just the stuff you want me to check out. So let's see, we got BAC. So we got Bank of America, and it's been on that same push that we've been seeing with the rest of finance. So notice that as we saw those bonds increase in value, we do see that Bank of America has continued to the upside. Everything Sean said, ha. Perfect. And notice that Bank of America had this 4-hour cross back down to the downside. So I think that if it falls below this kind of 38.25, we can see this thing go back down to 37.7. Overall, I think that finance is going to have some sort of rebound though. So that's kind of something that I would be weary of. In terms of an hourly though, I think that Bank of America is fairly strong. We are closing out this MACD, and we're very flat in terms of RSI. Notice we also pinged a reversal to the upside at 38.29. So if we can ride on top of 50 SMA, you could see this as a rounding bottom play. Just be cognizant of that 4-hour chart setup. Palantir, Docu, and AYX. Alrighty, so we've got Palantir, and we just pinged a reversal to the upside in terms of a 4-hour chart at 24.07. We are having the MACD kind of flatten out, and we have a pretty red RSI, so I would keep that in mind. So what I would want to say here is wait for the MACD to cross, which would probably be around this 25 mark, and above 25, I would retake it back up to like 27.5. Overall, I think the setup is there for Palantir. I would just be patient for confirmation to the upside. Next is Docu. So Docu also has that same H pattern in terms of a 4-hour chart. So I would be cognizant of that. Also, we have every single simple moving average line pushing us even further down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we retested 200 right here, the $200 price point. And if it were to break it to the downside, we end up retesting the 190 mark. In terms of the hourly chart, still below every single SMA line, and we're about to cross back down to the downside. Overall, I wouldn't take this thing to the upside whatsoever. Docu looks pretty weak. Let's see. AYX, SOS, DAL. Oh shoot! I also forgot. I need to do a BABA chart. All right, so AYX is kind of a weird play. I've never played it personally. You do have a reversal to the upside here at 82.19. And what I would want to do with this play is that if you can get above the 50 SMA, I would maybe consider it for like a little cup and handle play here in terms of hourly. But you do have an overhead resistance at 200 SMA. I would wait for that personally. You do have a crossover that's potentially going to happen here on MACD. So overall, I mean, it's a little too early to call for AYX. And also, when you look at this, it kind of just looks like a small H. I would just be patient. I'm not a big fan of the setup here. In terms of a 4-hour chart, notice that you have a crossover that's about to happen, and you have a reversal at 82.17. I would want this thing above, again, that 85 mark before I were to take anything at all, to be honest. SOS, this is a name that every single time I do a watch list here, everyone asks for this SOS. So let's check it out. SOS in terms of a 4-hour chart is relatively kind of flat. And what I would do with this is completely avoid it, to be honest. But we have a open MACD to the downside in terms of a 4-hour chart. If we can't retake 84.5, or I mean 8.5, I would be avoiding this thing like the plague to the upside, and I would keep hitting it back down up until this 200 SMA mark. And lastly, right here we have Delta. Delta is currently kind of just H pattern into 200 SMA. If it falls below 48.5, I would be taking it to the downside. And when you look at it in terms of a 4-hour chart, this thing is falling below 50 SMA, so that would also kind of confirm that. We also have a very open MACD, and it's pretty bearish. We went from oversold to neutral bearish. I would be very inclined to take a short position here on Delta. CRM. Uber. Oh, whoops. Uber. And I don't trade cryptos, Malik. I apologize. JMIA. I hold crypto. I don't buy. I don't day trade that. Okay, so let's start with CRM. So we've got Salesforce. So Salesforce, in terms of a 4-hour chart, you are rounding out a bottom here, and notice we have a potential, not potential, we have a reversal to the upside at 211.63. So what I would do here is probably just take it to the upside, maybe to 220 overall and then 226. But this is because you also have this crossover to the upside and a neutral RSI. So firstly, I would set my first profit target to 215, then retake of 217, and then 220. I think it's a fairly okay buy here. Uh, I would just play it for rounding bottom. I don't know how long that would take because it seems to be kind of slow here, but that's how I would play something like this. I'd probably just buy shares for something like Salesforce. Uber is honestly kind of looking like a Head and Shoulders. If it falls back below 200 SMA, I'll short the crap out of it, but I'm going to be cognizant of this crossover that we're seeing here for Uber. So notice right here, we almost have a crossover, and we pinged reversals to the upside at 56.29. So if you can break above 57.5, I wouldn't be surprised if we retook, 58, 59, and 60. I don't know how I would play that in terms of an options play. I don't know how well it pays overall, but I think that if you can get into a decently priced option, you can probably end up doing pretty well in the money, with time. This week also marks me starting 4/9/4/19 expiries for options. And then JMIA, it also has that massive H pattern. It had the Head and Shoulders reject off a 200 SMA, and it is below every single SMA line. You have an open MACD and a very bearish RSI. I would not be surprised if this thing retested, 40 and then 35. We got Ulta, Square, and Crowd. Which cryptos do I hold? I just hold Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin at 36, and I thought it was really high, but it just keeps going up. So I just keep hodling it, to be honest. There's not a lot of thought behind that. All right, so we've got Ulta. Ulta had this massive sell-off from 361. It pinged reversal to the upside at 313 and a half. You have a crossover to the upside and a relatively neutral RSI. I don't know if I would play this because here's your situation, right? You can maybe take it to the upside to 327. That would be my PT from where it's at currently, and maybe to 330. But at that point, again, you're playing off of this massive catalyst event, which was their earnings, and I personally don't play catalysts. That said, the recovery could be just like a slow rounding bottom. I just don't know how it would play because of that earnings event. So I would be patient with something like this, or I just wouldn't take it at all. Next, I have Crowd. So overall, I mean, same H pattern. We did ping reversal to the upside at 192 and a half. And so right here, notice that we did ping that reversal. We have a rounding bottom kind of happening here on MACD, and our RSI is relatively neutral to bearish. So what we would want is for this thing to reclaim 50 SMA to take to $200 price point. Overall, I think you can get a little reversal if it can reclaim 50 SMA, and that is at 197. What else do we have? Square. So for Square, this is kind of an interesting play as well because it also has that same Head and Shoulders reject off of 200 SMA. So Square currently has an H, and that is also kind of following the tech / finance sell-off. Square and PayPal are kind of those stocks that are a little interesting when it comes to that, mainly because they get a little bit of both worlds. So when tech sells, these guys sell. When finance sells, these guys also sell. And so overall, it's just something to be cognizant of. So Square, I think right now is still set up for the downside. It also has a very open MACD, and the RSI is very bearish. I wouldn't be surprised if we retested like 220. That's just what I think of that one personally. SPY and QQQ, I'm pretty sure I already did those, but I'll knock them out really quick. Just give my general thoughts. I think QQQ is going to be kind of still sell-off mode. I think SPY should be able to hold on to 200 SMA and we kind of reverse. But it's a little early to call this week. I'm gonna be doing a lot of hand sitting, and I need to see QQQ back above 316 for me to call myself bullish. So overall, I mean, we do have a rounding bottom for RSI on both of them, more so for QQQ. But overall, our RSIs are very in the bearish category, so I would just be patient. And in terms of futures, I mean, I still think that I personally would like a ES green NQ flat open. That's the ideal scenario for me. What else we got? Can I do T-Doc daily? Oh, oops, T-Doc. T-Doc on the daily. So T-Doc on the daily, I really don't like the setup here. You have an H pattern. So if you were to reject here, even on 9 SMA, I wouldn't be surprised if you ripped back down to retest 175 for T-Doc on a daily chart. When you look at it in terms of a 4-hour chart, you still have that same exact H pattern, but we did round out at bottom. I would expect for this thing to reclaim 50 SMA, cross over, and get back into the neutral for RSI and maybe retest 200. Let me get back to the other ones here. So let's see. EXPR. This one kind of became a meme stock, unfortunately. I bought shares of Express at like $1, like, because I actually just like shopping there. But you guys are following a pretty strong just channel to the upside. But that said, you are crossing to the downside as we speak on the 4-hour chart. And you also pinged reversal to the downside at 552. So overall, you've been just banging your head on this oversold spot. I mean, overbought side. So I would be very weary of taking anything to the upside on Express, personally speaking. I haven't been trading meme stocks because you can get burned pretty quickly on that. And also the premiums are a little high. Can I do X? Sure. And Z for Zillow. All right, so US Steel, I mean, you rejected the 4-hour cross to the upside. You are kind of opening up in terms of MACD. You're pinged a reversal at 23.13. I would not be surprised if you retested the 50 SMA, and if you rejected it, maybe retest the 20 mark, because this might be the most abstract head and shoulders I've ever seen. Zillow, H pattern reject off of 200 SMA 4-hour. You have an open MACD that's trying to cross back down, but in terms of a 4-hour chart, you're pinging another H pattern. Let me check it out on an hourly. In terms of an hourly, you are kind of trying to base out here at 135. I would be neutral to bearish on Zillow. Let's see, Lulu. Oh, let me make that Baba chart. I said I was going to do that. Okay, so Baba has this really nice double bottom, which is why I was looking at it. I think that with this bull flag right here, we have a pretty clear shot to 245 and 250. Overall, I would call this a rounding bottom. I really like the setup that Baba has in terms of a 4-hour chart. I think that the market hasn't been very kind to Alibaba recently, and so we're kind of going to see a little bit more money flow into it pretty soon, at least I think personally. All right, so I was going to check out Lulu, ENTH. Wait, what? Oh, EHTH. Facebook. I already did Facebook. So basically, I am looking at a bull flag break and continue upwards towards 300. I think you're just going to end up seeing a lot of gravity towards that $300 price point. So overall, I'm just mega bullish in terms of Facebook. I've been long on Facebook since 260. Not in terms of an options play, but I bought shares. Next, we have Lulu. Lulu is kind of posting a rounding top here. We have a reversal. Not a reversal. Yeah, we do have a reversal here too. Reversal to the downside at 310.99. And we have a crossover to the downside in terms of MACD. RSI is neutral. So I wouldn't be surprised if we rejected the 20 SMA right here, retested 50 SMA. If we fall below there and the $300 price point, we head back down to the 290 marks. Or eHealth, what do we have here? This looks like a bull flag, just in general. I don't like this right here, this huge sell-off. Earnings was a catalyst, maybe to the upside. I wouldn't play something like this, but it does kind of look like a bull flag. I don't like playing stuff that has like mega catalysts all over the place. That's the tweet. We have a crossover to the upside and a pretty bullish RSI. I would wait for this thing to break 66.22 and take it to the upside. Honestly, I think Qqq is going to be super bullish this week. Yeah, so Qqq, I'm kind of on the fence because the setup in terms of /NQ is still somewhat bearish, but in terms of this whole live stream that we've been having so far, we are still approaching the 50 SMA. So I think the real test tonight is, can we break above 50 SMA, retest 200, and break? If we can break 200 SMA, it's wraps. We're going to see this thing back up to the 13,000 marks. Again, depending on if we can get into the what's it called, bonds a little lower. But when you look at it in terms of a 4-hour chart, you do still have a bear flag setup. You do have a reversal to the upside at 12.823, and you have a rounding bottom in terms of MACD. So I would just be patient on that 12.950 mark. Overall, I think that it'll be a very interesting week. Can you do BA and Disney on dailies also? Sure. BA and Disney. Okay, so Disney has been on this kind of slow sell-off. It has an open MACD, and it's pretty red on RSI. I wouldn't be remotely thinking about a call position for Disney for a little while. It looks like it's currently just on track to retest this 188 mark before it gave this huge pump. If not, it'll probably retest this 186 mark if it continues this trend that it's currently on. Boeing, let me tell you about something. Boeing is so fresh. I love how Boeing is set up right now. So Boeing has this massive bull flag. I think that if we break above 258, or I might even hop into this thing early with maybe like a May expiry, I think we retest this high at 280. That's my personal belief. And I think that if we see market kind of put more money into defensive plays, I think we can definitely watch BA retake 280 and maybe even 300 going into the future. I like Boeing a lot, and that's currently the top of my watch list. I also wanted to check out QuantumScape and Riot because these are a few tickers that I've been trading like crazy because I found out that their premiums are absolutely insane. So here's what I see on QS, right? QS just needs to stay above 60 to retest 70. Personally speaking, that's what I believe. We have a 4-hour chart that's about to cross MACD to the upside. We have a very neutral to bullish RSI. And overall, I think that this bull flag setup, if you can get a break above 65, we're just going to continue to see this thing run. Riot as well is kind of a bull flag setup. Not as much. This is more of an abstract bull flag, but if you can get MACD to cross to the upside, you can definitely see Riot kind of push. We do have to keep an eye on BTC pricing, though, because Riot is a lot more heavy on BTC. Does anyone have any more tickers that you would like me to check out? Because I think I will be calling the stream here, or just general questions. Mara, sure. So maybe I'll take a few more and then just questions, and we'll call it a night. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Love your setup. Would you be able to share the template you're using? Do you have a session on identifying reversals? I'm currently working on a video for reversals. And Ben, I also have a video, feel free to go through the channel, on my exact trade setup that you can do. When you say the premiums are insane, what does that mean? Okay, so the contracts shift like crazy. So like IV plays a lot into Riot. And so what we'll see is that premiums will skyrocket due to that extra, implied volatility pump into it. So when I look at something like Riot, a $2 pump will give you like 15% return, 20% return on an option with like 3 weeks out of expiry, in the money, you know, super crazy, like good pay for what you're buying. A lot of bang for your buck. A pre-market scanner setup would be good also. Carrera Lou, the video that I made about how I find stocks to play would probably be what you're looking for. All right, so let me check out Mara really quick. So Mara, you have a 4-hour crossover to the upside, and you have a pretty bullish RSI. Overall, I kind of like the setup here. Let me check it out on a hourly basis. This looks like a bull flag. I don't like this little extra kind of pump to the upside. I would even call this a triangle. I think above maybe 44, or maybe if you really want to play it safe, above 46, you can see this thing kind of push even higher. Overall, I like Mara. Let's see. How do you find tickers to play? I have a video about that on my channel, and I use barchart.com along with MarketWatch. Oh, nice. Good to know. Look, daily playlist. Sounds good, man. Yeah, no problem. If no one else has any other questions, I think I will be ending the session here. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in and showing support. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know the whole vibe. That said, I will be uploading, again, regular upload schedule going into this week. I've been a little busy. Just life's kind of gotten in the way. But we're going to be back on track. And, yeah, thank you. That was a great session. Yep, no problem, man. Alrighty, well, I will be catching you guys in the AM. Remember, be green. I'll see y'all. Peace.